Hey guys, Coach Keith Kepner here, and I'm going to talk about how to start a boxing gym and not only start one, but make one that is successful. I've had a few people ask about it on the channel, so I just want to provide this information for you because it is something that I know a lot about and I've done for about 12 or so years. So most of the time that I've been coaching, I've had my own gym and I built my gym completely from scratch and got it to about $450,000 a year before I merged it into another brand, and I'm now helping that brand with their locations. All right, so let's jump into it. The one thing I'm going to promise you is after this video, you are going to know everything you need to know. No fluff, no crap, no BS, no theory about thought about how I think it could have, should have worked or whatever, but what I've actually done, seen work, seen not work, and all that experience. All right. Now, by the way, excuse my black eye. I got this not from boxing, but from actually a headbutt doing jiu-jitsu. Okay. So first off, when we're starting off, we need to know that there's really three types of boxing gyms. I have gyms, but boxing gyms, because that's what we're talking about. Three types of boxing gyms. You have a fight type gym, you have the fitness type gym, and then you have the hybrid. My father ran a professional boxing gym for quite a few years, and its sole focus was fighters that were either amateur or pro. And if you're there as an amateur, your goal was to go pro. And if you're there starting, your goal was to eventually fight and turn professional, and that was the goal. No other reason to be there. There were some hobbyists that came in here and there sometimes, but most of them didn't last because it was all about producing fighters. That's one type of gym, and that's a gym that I see oftentimes when people think of a boxing gym, that's what they think about. Particularly historically, things have changed a little bit over the years. One thing that's changed over the years is there's a fitness boxing gym thing, right? So people think, oh man, well, if I want to make money or be able to live, better said, be able to live, make income that I live off of with the boxing gym and not work a day job, then man, I need to have to be like just this like bougie fitness boxing gym thing that's just kind of, insert pejorative. That's not the case either. But then what's the bad parts of this, right? So with the fight gym, you're not going to live off of fighters and things like that. You're not going to keep people a long time and everything else. And there's certain incentives I'm going to talk about later in the video for why I would say you maybe don't want to do a gym like that. Now, and my dad was lucky, he broke even with his. Most people don't break even. Okay. And he was also retired from being a psychologist, clinical psychologist, since 1994, which is when he started doing that. So he had a steady income. All right. So again, this type of thing you can only do if you got money from somewhere else or you have money coming in from something. All right. Then you have the fitness boxing gym. You can make money with this, but there's other challenges as well. And also, you guys watch this channel for real boxing. You don't watch it to be like, I want to be just somebody who's like pawing mitts and whatnot, and one of those people that are very cringy that you see. Boxing. Then the last one, and the best one, that's the thing that I think you should opt for, is the hybrid boxing gym. What do I mean? It's a combination of you have a fitness orientation, but you also have real boxing technique and the opportunity for people to become real fighters. Because one thing that is great about this is it gets you to combine your passion, your true passion, which is for the sport of boxing, along with something that is going to support you, and you can not have to work your day job all day and then go to the gym afterwards that you're trying to make run, and also you haven't spent all this time figuring out how to run as a business, so you're struggling anyway. Now, so you have those two things combined. That was something that actually when I met my wife, she turned me on to, because I grew up with just knowing about fight gyms, and that was the type of gyms that my dad had and everything else and that I was around. So I was like, okay, well, that's all there is. And you can't really make that much money with it. The goal is to make a champion that makes you money, right? You have to hit that almost honestly like a lottery type play or lottery type odds of getting that person that makes that amount of money. Now, she taught me though that, hey, you can actually create a business, build a business, have people that train that are just general public, hobbyists, cater to them. And because you're catering to them, then you have the base built that you can then therefore walk over 10 feet and work with fighters, or in between classes or clients work with fighters or whatever. You're right there. Wouldn't you rather that instead of like driving from one location to the other location? It's great to have everything all together. And what I love about the new venture that I'm a part of right now with X3 Sports is that, man, I can literally walk over and do jiu-jitsu, walk over and do boxing, everything else, right? So it's all great, and work with fighters in between and then run the business. All right, so let's talk about some reasons though why you might not be getting started, or what might be holding you back, and then things you need to watch out for, things you need to be aware of. All right, so first thing, the Dunning-Kruger effect. I probably spelled that wrong, but that's okay. The Dunning-Kruger effect, what does it mean? What does it mean? I hear a lot of people say this like with coaching, but then also I bet it's for you with maybe going for your dream of maybe doing what I've done, and that's open up my own boxing gym and boxing gyms. Real quick, by the way, just so you guys know, I haven't only opened up one boxing gym. I've opened up 8 boxing gyms in this time because we franchise and everything else. So I've opened up in multiple different states, helped other people open up other gyms, everything else. So a lot of experience. So that's why you should listen to me. But the Dunning-Kruger effect, meaning that the less you know about something, the more you are likely to overestimate your ability. So why am I bringing it up here? Because if you are saying, man, I might not know enough yet, right? You've maybe had some boxing fights, you've been around boxing, you've learned quite a bit about boxing, it's been your passion, you've really researched it and studied it, and you're continually learning. And you're like, man, I don't know enough yet. You might be actually at that stage that happens with the Dunning-Kruger effect where you are actually getting competency. What do I mean? Because the person that knows nothing about boxing or nothing about business or anything else like that, they think, man, dude, I can just flip the switch and do it. I can do just what, Mark Cuban does or whatever. I can start a business, be successful. I can do just what Keith does, right? I'm sure it's not that hard, right? You just open the doors, buy the equipment. That's it. It's easy because that's all they see, right? Or like with boxing, like I see people hitting each other and they look like they're in shape. So I feel like I could hit people and be in shape. Of course, it's much more than that. So if you think that you don't know enough yet as a coach or enough yet to open up your boxing gym, it might be that you're actually getting to that level of competency. So therefore, you're aware of all the opportunities to learn. And that's really where you need to be, in my opinion. If you don't know anything, then you think you're better than you are. And oftentimes I see guys do their first year for the next 20 years, and they still don't know anything more than they knew in their first year. And they think they know everything as a boxing coach or as a boxer or whatever, as a gym owner. And they're really dumb as a box of rocks. All right. Now, so go ahead and get started on it right where you stand. Start working towards that because let me liken it to maybe martial arts, right? So if you're a white belt, yeah, you can't go teaching like a blue belt, which is the next level in jiu-jitsu, let's say, how to do that, right? How to do jiu-jitsu, right? That'd be stupid, right? But if you're a blue belt, you can teach a white belt, right? And then if you're the next level up, you're a purple belt, you can teach a blue belt. And that's how you level yourself up. And that's how I recommend you do it. And that's how I've told many coaches, and I've built many coaches from scratch, is, hey, yeah, I don't expect you to like immediately be working with like a Golden Glove champion and you don't have that experience yourself and you haven't helped train someone or mentored under someone that has done that. Yeah, dude, totally. But hey, you can work with people just starting out because you know more than they do. And then you progress. All right. So, and there's a lot more nuance with that, but we're talking about all the aspects of this and with business. All right. So next one, number 2, start with the end in mind. All right, start with the end in mind. What do I mean by this? It doesn't mean you might not change your opinion or your goal or what you want to have, right? When I first opened up, I had some certain goals in 2013, and I kind of changed some of those goals because of necessity and what I actually found that I really wanted to do and everything else. So, but you need to have an end in mind. And why do you need to do that? Because you need to at least know what direction you're trying to go in. If you don't set that, then you're just going to be going in a whole bunch of random directions. You're going to have other people pulling you in other directions once you get opened and things like that, or you're looking to open, and you can just be led in a million different ways. All right. So start with what your goals are with it. Like I asked someone who's looking to open up their own boxing gym right now on the East Coast, and I asked them this question, like, what is the goal? Is it for it to be a community boxing center? Is it the goal for it to be a business that can be your full-time livelihood that you can support your family off of like I do? And they told me it was the latter. Okay, cool. I know what we got to do. And you know what you need to do after you watch this video. All right, so non-negotiables, very important as well. Similar to the second point, have non-negotiable standards of how the business is going to operate. Code of conduct, right? Is everyone going to be professional? Is all your staff that you eventually bring on going to be professional? Even if you bring on one more person, what's your standard for them? And you need to exude that standard yourself. Are we going to swear? Things like that. Are we going to keep it clean? Standards. What are we going to hold at highest priority? Okay. And this goes a couple ways. So one way too is that, let's say, standards as well. If you don't have standards for yourself and for your clients, then this can happen. You can have kind of what I talked about with the fight focus gym. It can happen here too if you have the hybrid. You have a fighter or a couple fighters that end up taking all of your time, all of the energy, and they're energy suckers. I'm not saying all fighters are like this, but I'm saying there's some people like this. You can have it with just regular clients too, that they suck all the good energy out of the gym, out of a class, out of a session, and they're just frankly toxic like that. So you have maybe set that non-negotiable that, hey, like if there's someone like that that's either on your team or a client, we're going to nicely ask them to leave and have those standards. Because if you don't, again, you'll just let things go a million different directions, and weeds grow automatically in your garden that is your business and your gym that you're building. And if you don't pull out the weeds and decide what you want in that flower box or garden and what you don't want, just nature will take it over and it'll just be back to nature, and it won't accomplish the goal, which is to produce some crops. All right. So that can happen. And that's where you need to have the standard, at least in my opinion, I do with mine, that, hey, like, even if this person is the next Mike Tyson or the most talented boxer I've ever seen in my life, I am not going to let that person, if they don't follow certain standards, stick around. If they're not training hard, if they don't have a good attitude, if they're not coachable, if they're draining energy from other people in the facility, in the gym, you're out. You're out. All right. But also, too, with standards, by the way, real quick, it kind of goes into the next one, but these all kind of bleed a little bit. But beginner friendly, I highly recommend it, and you need it, honestly, to make a business work. Your standard, my standard with my locations, my gym, my model, everything else is beginner friendly, beginner friendly, beginner friendly, because that's who everyone is. And like I tell every single person when I ask them how much experience you got, they say, I got no experience. I'm like, that's awesome. You're exactly the type of person I want to work with, because we want to build people up from the ground up and take them to any level they want to get to. All right. So next we go to services. Services. I recommend you have 3 general chunks of focuses with services. Now, does this mean you have to start off with this? No, it doesn't. I actually started first when I came up from Mexico after I had my neck injury, and I was working in the back of a weightlifting gym, training some people. I was working just with kids and a little bit with fighters, but I was doing kids classes and building that base up with the eventual goal of opening up my own spot. All right, but 3 chunks here. You have non-contact. So what does that mean? That is more of the fitness boxing, but, big but, it is technique and fitness focus. Technique and fitness focus. So it's not just fitness and forget about technique. Because nowadays, in this modern era, it's not interesting enough, it's not enjoyable enough, and you're not going to keep people that are hobbyists that are just feeling like, hey, oh, this is a workout. Well, guess what? I can go work out I can exercise wearing boxing gloves anywhere. So why am I going to come to this dude or this girl or whoever, right? So let's teach them technique in the process so they feel like they're growing. And that's why, by the way, things like martial arts and stuff like that have a much longer retention cycle than your standard fitness facility, because fitness is just fitness. But learning, like with martial arts, and boxing is a martial art, keep people a lot longer. All right. So you have that. But in those sessions or the classes, those people don't have to worry about getting punched. And that happens every single time at a certain time, right? You have that class or that program. Then you have a contact one where maybe you do actually drills. I highly recommend you do this, because this adds that extra spice. And this is kind of like your filtering class of that. It can be a big one too, where people learn technique. They get to do control drills, not sparring, but control drills. And maybe from that session, they're allowed to then maybe spar at a certain time or whatever. But that's where, again, you get those hobbyists, again, that are really going to appreciate their growth and learning of actually how to really defend punches in a control fashion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's limited to that group. And then also from that's where people are like, yeah, I want to maybe eventually compete. They're training in that all the time. And then you get them sparring, and then you progress them down that line. Then next you have PT and kids. PT, what I mean by PT, I mean personal training, right? One-on-one training, and then working with kids. You can definitely have great kids programs. One thing that's challenging with boxing and kids, not that I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I did it for years, and we do it currently with the partnership I have. But the martial arts are so good and have spent so much marketing to kids for like karate and taekwondo and everything else, that most parents, when they think of when they think of doing something like that, they think of those martial arts oftentimes. Now the market might be turning a little bit, but I recommend, that be the third on the list. But definitely you want to get some one-on-ones as you build out big classes and things like that. And you can filter from that. Like someone's like, hey, they're asking a lot of questions, they want to progress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, or the times doesn't work for them. That's a great opportunity to do one-on-one training, get paid more for your time, and they get more value for their time. All right. And there's obviously a ton more into all of this stuff, but I'm giving you all the basics that you need to know to get going tomorrow. All right. Number 5. By the way, make sure you stick around for number 7. We're going to talk about location, because that stuff is some stuff that people miss big time. And you got to make sure you stick around for that. And actually as well, this is the first prototype copy of my book, Ringside Secrets, 66 Boxing Tactics to Outthink and Outfight Your Opponent. Man, this is going to be coming out soon. This is the first test one that I got, so I could make sure I read through the whole thing again, made sure it's all good. 121 pages, chock full of not pictures, but of complete knowledge on boxing. All right, so make sure you watch out for that. Now, memberships. Let's talk about memberships. So 2 ways to go, right? You have, and it says, I want to throw this at you because this is a newer concept for a lot of people. All right, so you have classes and PT. That's not a newer concept, but let's talk about that for a second. If you're not very confident as a coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you're maybe just starting out, you don't have a lot of experience working with a lot of other people, maybe inside a gym and things like that, then maybe you want to go for classes and PT, because those classes, I like to call them sessions, but they're basically classes that are at set times. That is where it's going to be your filtering mechanism. Obviously, you're going to, bring people on. They're going to sign up as members. You're going to keep them forever, and they're going to love you. But from that, you also get to then a few of those people are going to go to be personal clients, and you get to really fill up your awesome business that way. The other way, though, is small group and semi-private. So what does that mean? It means you don't have any class time. Everything is on appointment base. And so there's some upsides to this, all right? The upside is that there's going to be no schedule, right? Besides the scheduled ones that you do with like a small group of people or private. The downside is it's harder to sell if you're not more as experienced, right? If you haven't done a lot of training with people, coaching people, things like that, and you don't already have kind of a base that you already kind of built in another gym or on your own or in your garage or whatever. And the other upside though too is that it's more, you get paid more for your time and it's more profit, really. Now, there can be other challenges as well, but there's 2 things I want you to think about. If I was going to start all over again, at my experience and level with all this, I might start with that, right? Super small square footage, do that, and really squeeze that for all it's worth, and then maybe add a few sessions, things like that. But that's another topic for another video. All right. Now, with memberships, have 3 options. All right. Let's talk about that. So many people I've seen, they have 1 option with their gym, right? I have a monthly rate, and that's all I have. Okay. Well, what about if I want to join for do I get a discount if I join for 6 months or a year? It's just this monthly rate. Everyone pays it. All right. You don't want that. And now I've seen also the menu options, right? Where it's like you literally have a book of options. You don't want that either, right? You want to have about 3 is a happy number. So you have, for instance, 1 option, 2 option, your 3rd option. So let's say it's like a month to month, a 3-month or a 6-month, and then a yearly option. All right. And then always, I was just talking to a guy that owns a facility that's a jiu-jitsu school, and I helped him figure this out and understand this, and he switched over right away. And he's like, holy crap, this is amazing. He was just doing the month to month. Like, hey, how about you reward someone for joining with you for a year by dropping down the price, because now risk is transferred to them, but they get to save money on that risk. Versus as a business owner, you have more risk here for the month-to-month person because they might disappear. That's why that's a premium, and that's why you can give them a deal on that one. And then you have this nice middle ground. Now the goal is this, to make this so high, right, that you are, for instance, incentivizing someone to go this way. And ideally, let's say, to hit this number right here, with maybe a middle number being like 149. Also, I recommend ending with 9s, all right? So therefore, if you're looking at this and you have 3 options, let's say this is a 6-month, this is a month-to-month, and this is a 12-month. Right here, you're like, well, man, there's such a gap between these 2 numbers. Let me just jump to that. I would honestly make this probably 169, let's say. So therefore, everything's telling you, hey, this is actually the number that I want you to go for. All right. So really, it's a decoy in a sense as far as pricing. But again, people that commit to longer get rewarded. People that don't want to commit, that's okay. No worries. We still love you all the same. And they can always change over to be a longer term member. All right. But now let's talk about how these things are structured. Obviously, you want to have a merchant that is going to automatically bill people. You have a card on file, but better yet, do ACH. I know that sounds scary to a lot of people, but we've been switching that over a lot, and it's very important to do. ACH means direct to bank. All right. So therefore, cards don't expire and things like that. Now, weekly billing, big thing. Does it mean it has to be charged every week? Meaning you're breaking down these month numbers I just talked about to weeks? No, it doesn't. But I highly recommend, we did for Kepner and for our Kepner locations, it is charged on a weekly billing cycle, unless they pay in full for a whole year or whatever. But we could also do every 2 weeks. Or every 4 weeks, if you feel more comfortable with that. It is very important to know this, because let's say your business does $75,000 a month, right? Which is very reasonable to do if you do all this stuff well. Then if you only charge 12 times a year, you only get, let's say, an average membership of $140, you only get that 12 times. If you charge every 4 weeks, or let's just say every 4 weeks instead of 12 times a year, that you're going to actually charge 13 times. So you're going to be adding an extra 13th month to your membership draft. Let me know if that makes sense. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. But that is a big way to add. Like, again, if you're making, let's say you're making $20,000 a month off your membership. At the end of a year, 20 times 12 was at 240,000. Wouldn't you like to add another 20,000 and have 260,000? Like, that sounds good to me. Just for a switch like that, why not? All right, so big thing. All right, now going up to marketing and sales. All right, so the lowest hanging fruit is going to be Google Ads, Facebook and Instagram. All right, so Google Ads, what does that mean? That means that when someone goes on Google, which is the primary place that people search that are newbies at this stuff, they're going to type in boxing near me or whatever. You want to appear first on that. How are you going to do that? Are you going to spend a bunch of money on SEO and spend a lot of time doing that? No. Have a website. All right, basic website. You can make it with Wix. That's what I did. It was like a free or $20 or something. Made a Wix website and had an opt-in so people could put their information in there and I could see that information. Name, phone number, email. Boom. All right. Learn more or book a class. But I highly recommend learn more because you're more likely to get the lead and then you can talk to them. And if we can talk to them, have the one-on-one conversation, then we can get them in the door or understand what they're looking to gain, get them in the door, get them in to try an awesome session by you, and then you get the opportunity to get them to come aboard as a member. All right. So Google Ads, that is the hottest person, meaning they're in your market. They're typing in boxing near me because I'm thinking about boxing near me already. Now, less direct is Facebook and Instagram because you're going to be looking at targeting a certain age demographic. I recommend like 25 to 40-year-olds because the kids are going to come anyway. Young people are going to come anyway. You want to target those people that are going to, again, build the base so that you can support the gym, keep it open, support yourself so that therefore you can support them, but then also do your hobby on the side, which is going to be maybe to build fighters and build a fight team and support that. And the better you do that, it all feeds together with each other when you do it right. Now, Google Ads, how do you do that? Dude, Google it. ChatGPT, whatever. Pretty straightforward, pretty basic, especially with all the resources out there on YouTube and whatnot. Same thing with Facebook and Instagram. You want to do just, learn more. Bam, that's it. Basic ad copy. And here's a gigantic tip for all this stuff. Steal like an artist. So look at your closest fitness boxing boutique or anything else like that, or just look up some of the big brands, okay, that or any type of gym. But let's say one that kind of has boxing or something that is similar to what you do. Look at their exact ad creative, look at their ad copy, and Control C, copy, and then Control V. You paste it right on your ad and you make it the same just with your own brand or whatever. And that is one of the best ways to fast track and bootstrap on the back of someone else's work that they put in to figure out what works and what doesn't work, because they've spent already millions of dollars, that company has, to perfect their ad copy and everything else. You're not going to make a good one. You're not going to make a good creative right out the rip, especially if you don't have experience. Boom. Dude, just take it. Boom. I did that for a location that was in Texas. Boom. Grabbed it. Boom. Put it in. Bam. We were off to the races. All right. How much do you spend a day? About $20 to $50 a day. Have that scheduled in or have that factored in to your budget. Now, referrals. Again, ask for referrals. Best time to do it is at the point of sign up. You sign someone up. Awesome. Hey, do you have anyone else that you think that might want to train with us that's like you? Because you're freaking awesome. So we love more people like you. Bam. Name, phone number. Let's get them to try a session. Bam. Sign them up. All right. Then how to view marketing and selling. This is something that a lot of people get hooked on because they think if I'm just a good enough coach, if I'm just the greatest coach ever in this area or whatever, why aren't people training with me? Like, what the hell's wrong with people? Are they stupid? Well, they don't know. They don't know what good and bad is. All right. That's one thing you got to remember is because, again, we're targeting beginners and things like that. We're not targeting seasoned people. And depending on what your level is, seasoned people might not want to come to you. Okay. But let's say you are actually like one of the most knowledgeable boxing people in your area. And also at the end of the day, man, people don't really care how much you know sometimes, but they really care about how much you care. Right. So if you can out care the other guy down the street that might actually have more experience with boxing than you do, but you can out care, which means you give more attention and everything else, you actually put yourself on a level playing field. If not, you start matching their knowledge base, then you care more, easy beat, easy win. All right. So, but what you need to do is view marketing and selling as coaching. All right. Because if I am a good coach, that means I want to work with you. So you come in the facility, and if you're like the right type of fit for this type of community, right? You're not just some complete jerk off, then it's my obligation. It's like you're looking for something. It's my obligation to help you make a decision. Because if you could be successful on your own already, you would have already done it. I have to help you get the momentum going. So let me help you do that. Let's get aboard. Let's do this thing now. Let's make it happen. Right? Just like if you're coaching a fighter in the corner, like if they could just do it on their own, then you wouldn't even need to be there as a coach. But it's helpful to be an extra pair of eyes and to be that motivator and to just be that person there that knows that person. And to help them rise to the next level. That's why we all need coaches and mentors. All right. So just frame selling and marketing that. Marketing is you shouting out to the hilltops that, hey, I'm here. Because people, if they don't know you're there, they're not going to come. And then selling is coaching. That's all it is, right? If you and I do a one-on-one session, let's say back when I was doing a bunch of one-on-one sessions, and at the end of us working together, I enjoyed working with you and you enjoy working with me. I'm like, hey, dude, when are we going to do this again? Oh, well, we can do next Thursday. Awesome. Let's do it. Bam. And then we're going to start talking about what package we want to do. Bam. Let's lock that in. Let's, make this thing happen, man. Let's accomplish your goals. All right. Now, next, the last one, we're talking about location. So number one, above all, visibility. So many people mess this up. It doesn't mean you can't be successful without this or do okay without this, but any level of okay that you do, you're going to do massively more okay. You're going to do great when you have better visibility. So what does this mean? Don't go for size. So often guys will go for warehouse space and things like that. Because like, dude, it's so big. I could run shows here. This is awesome. No. Go for something that has roadside, ideally something that people can see, something that's visible. Because like one, you don't want to make it hell for people to find you when they look you up on Google or whatever, right? And they're like, dude, where the hell is this gym? I've been to so many gyms like that. It's like it's in the back door of a back warehouse. Like it's almost like it's trying to be hidden, right? Like they're selling drugs or something. All right. So visibility. That's where you got a sign, but also somewhere on roadside so people can see you and what you do. All right. And then next to that, kind of jumped around here, but visibility is positive overhead. What does that mean? You're going to pay more. You might be like, oh man, dude, I can get this warehouse space that's 10,000 square feet, and I can get that for $4,000 a month. That's awesome. And then, man, there's this one that's like in the shopping center, and it's $4,000 a month for 1,300 square feet. Dude, I'm going with that 10,000 all day. No, don't be dumb. Go for the 13 for the 4,000 because that's what's going to actually allow you to grow a business versus that warehouse that's on that side road that no one knows about. The one in the shopping center, dude, you're going to get so much traffic. And as long as you don't run a horrible business, you're going to do great. All right, now, parking. Well, make sure you have enough parking. Things to consider, obviously, but take into consideration. Now, does this mean you need 100 parking spots for your gym? No. The second gym I opened up, we had about 15 parking spots, okay? And that was about all we needed. Because you're not going to have, let's say, 200 clients all come at the same time. It's staggered with classes and PT and all that. All right. Then next is what are you around? Okay, that's another thing. Ideally, let's not be right next to a liquor store. Let's not be right next to a vape shop. Now, again, I know there might be some people on here that's like, man, dude, I have a gym and it's right next to a liquor store or a vape shop or whatever. And they do okay. Yeah, they do okay. But let's not do okay. Let's do great. Like, do you want to bring in gross revenue of like $450,000 a year? Don't be next to one of those. All right? Because if you're next to one of those, you can take a lot off of that amount. All right? Let's not do that. Add to that amount. All right. Now, and also remember, if you pick the wrong spot, let's say you're like, dude, I thought this made sense. It matched all this, but all of a sudden something else came up. You can always relocate. I relocated my initial Athens location 3 times and totally fine. Just don't do it willy-nilly like every 5 seconds. All right, and do it for good reasons. All right, then what I want to talk about is I opened a location in one of our franchise locations in 1,300 square feet. The first location I ever opened up in Athens was in 1,200 square feet, but I opened up one in 2021 in 1,300 square feet, not 1,000, 1,300 square feet, and I got it to 75 members in 3 weeks in a state I don't even live in, and no one knew me and anything else. So it wasn't like, oh, Coach Keith, and he's from this area and everyone knows him. Nope. No one knew me. 75 members in about 3 weeks. And that was passed off to a franchisee, which is actually why I stopped franchising units. We don't franchise Kepners anymore. We have ones that are still open in Mount Juliet. There's a great one. Decatur, there's a great one. And Loganville is a great one. And we have an affiliate in Hartwell those are all great ones that are still open. Of course, our Athens location is molded into X3 Sports. But I don't do it anymore because of what happened here. This happened, things were going great, and that franchisee, that business owner, left the country and never came back. And this was all the way down in Florida. And I live in North Georgia. And it's like, dude. And like people, the staff was asking me, clients were asking me, like, hey, Keith, can you come down here? I'm like, man, I wasn't planning to move to Florida. Sorry, too many hurricanes. But anyway, but you can do this yourself. And if I had to start all over again, I could do this and have no one know who I was and still follow exactly what I'm talking about and be successful. All right, but let's do the math on that, guys. Do the math, because that's the key to good business, right? Even though I'm not good at math, do the math. So if you have 75 clients at an average of $140 a month, again, you're doing 4-week billing cycle ideally, but just to give you an idea of monthly what you're getting in, that's $10,500. Okay, 75 times 140. Then you have your rent. Let's say it's about $4,000 a month. Then you have other overhead, electricity, insurance, things like that. You're talking about $1,000. Maybe it's $1,500, but that gets you to about $5,000 net, meaning what you can put in your pocket. But let's make it $2,000. That makes it $3,000 a month net. You can put in your pocket. Hey, guess what? That's getting you up to $36,000, $40,000, over $40,000 a year right off the rip, right there with just that. You're doing no PT. You just have 75 members. All right, and then that's just the start. That's month 1. Or month 2. And then we're getting that PT, and also this client base can feed upon itself. They have a great experience. They tell other people about it. And then you have a viral effect. Last thing I want to leave you with, guys, is this idea of the funnel with your business. So you have leads, booked, show, closed, and then you have retention. All right. If you run your business based off of this, you're gonna do well by optimizing these numbers. You have leads. You want to get that lead flow up as high as possible with the means that I talked about. Everything. Then booked, you want to get those people to book a free session to come in. That is your offer that you do. Then next is you want to get as many as you can to show, right? Then out of the ones that show, less of those people are going to close, but you want to get that number as good as possible. And then after they close, they have a possibility of falling off and not being clients and getting lost, right? They do their first couple months and then they're gone. They never come back and they don't become a long-term client. So you do have some trickle that happens, but you want to have this filter here to make that as small as possible. Let me give you some numbers about what this looks like. Out of 100 leads, you want about 75 to 80% of those to book. You get a hold of them, you book them. Then you want about, let's see, out of the ones that are booked, you want about 70 or so, 75 or so to show. Then off of people that showed up and tried a session, how many did you close? A great number is about 40% of those, right? So if you have 100 people show up in a month, you want to have sold about 40 of them. All right, that's good numbers, or 50, somewhere in that range. You have to be really good if you're going to hit 50. And then retention. If you're around 5% attrition, means you're losing 5% a month, that is gold in the industry. Reasonable is also between 5 and 10%. But if you're at 5%, that's gold. All right, guys, that wraps up for the video. Hope this helped you. If you have any comments or questions below, feel free to drop them below. Also, remember, this book, keep an eye out for it, coming out soon. It has this line across it because it's like a do not sell copy because it's a draft. But check that out. Also, if you want to work with me as a boxer and you don't live by a good coach or a good gym, make sure you click on the link below, Patreon page, click on the custom high-level elite training where you and I are going to work together to build a custom program just for you. And you can literally film yourself every single round you do, send it to me. I will analyze it. And then also with your fights and everything else, I have people that are in many different parts of the world that are working with me now. And it's awesome. And I love doing it. And it's super exciting. All right, guys, thanks for your time and look out for the next video.